studies or no studies did you do? How is your coming into acting?
Okay, so I came into acting about 10, 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I went to quite a different drama school to kind of like the standard drama schools, but it was very kind of to talk about yeah, very character based. It was actually run by a Russian teacher that came to London and then set up his own drama school here.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very cool, very interesting, and very much about characters and
Mm-hmm.
exploring lots of different characters and fascinating in that
Mm-hmm.
respect. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. And how many
yeah.
years did you study there?
I studied there for about 4 years, but it was some drama schools in London. There are not many, and I don't know there are many left. Had a courses where there were full time during the day courses, but also I was working during the day to be able
Mm-hmm.
to afford to go to drama school.
Yeah.
So we had full time in the evening,
Okay.
and then at the weekends as well.
Okay.
So yeah,
That's pretty intense. And then
yes.
you started working after that?
Yeah, so I did a lot of theatre. I did commercials. I took some time off as well.
Mm-hmm.
Took kind of a break and kind of fell out of acting and did lots of other different jobs, working
Mm-hmm.
in schools and the teaching assistant, all kinds of stuff. And then sort of just before the pandemic, sort of maybe a couple of years, come that horrible word.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that time, so around 2019 and that, I started, or 2018 actually, I started kind of getting back into things again. I did a play,
Mm-hmm.
and then I started making short films
Mm-hmm.
with friends, and then yeah, and things sort of started moving again. And
Okay.
that, yeah.
And so how was acting feeling at that moment when you took it back on?
Um, it was fine, and I think the projects that I was working on, I was with friends and I was with people that I very much trusted. So
Mm-hmm.
people that I really kind of like gel with.
Mm-hmm.
One of them actually came and did the reset,
Mm-hmm.
and she was the one that told me about all about reset.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of it was a great project, and the acting in that was, yeah, it was just really enjoyable. It was a lot of comedy and it was fun. Um, but yeah, I would say, and then things started to slow down because of what happened in 2020. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so a little after that you decide to start doing this work and resetting yourself. And
Yes.
what made you think you needed to reset yourself?
I think the way that I was trained, it was very thorough, and I'm very grateful for the training that I had originally because I
Mm-hmm.
think there was a lot of juice there. But it's a process that took a lot of time and lots of
Mm-hmm.
rehearsals and things like that. And as I could see where things were going, it was like people are getting auditions. My partner's also an actor, and it's like auditions coming in last minute. And it was like I didn't have time to do, felt I didn't have time to do all the work.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I had a feeling, but I didn't know the words for it. But it was like I knew about relaxation and all that kind of. We did a lot of relaxation and things like that. But it was like within me, I felt a kind of like stiffness, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
A kind
Mm-hmm.
of, and I did yoga and I did other things as well, but it wasn't moving. It was a revelation when I started doing the reset work. I was like, aha, something shifted.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, um, so the main reason why you decided to reset yourself is like realizing that the industry needed to have the things done in a certain,
Yes.
at a certain speed, and that your more
Yeah.
traditional approach wasn't enabling to have all the space and time you needed, right?
No,
Yeah.
it was very detailed and lots of things going in
Uh-huh.
and imagination and all kinds of things. And
Uh-huh.
I didn't have, I,
Time for that.
it was like I don't have any time.
No,
Yeah.
no. And whether it's,
To do those.
you're right, whether it's, the last minute auditions and tapes, or last minute here's your text for tomorrow when you're shooting, right? It's not like
Mm,
when you're shooting you have more time either. You can have even less time when you're shooting. So yeah, definitely. So
yeah.
when you started resetting, how different was that from your more thorough traditional method and approach? How different was it?
It was Brilliant. So I remember the first class because everything was recorded,
Mm-hmm.
and the person that told me about the research is someone who I really very much trust.
Mm-hmm.
And at the beginning, I was a bit skeptical, I have
Of
to say,
course, of
because I was
course.
like, I have my training, and you know, but and I started doing, but I tried anyway. So I jumped into doing the reset, and the first class with the lots of physical movements and
Mm-hmm.
things, I found it a bit scary, I have to
Mm-hmm.
say,
Yeah.
because I just thought, what are they doing? And there was
Yeah.
something about it. It was like a bit of an alarm
Mm-hmm.
for me, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And but I didn't quite. It was taking doing it. Just
Yeah.
going, okay. I put my beginner's kind of mind
Yeah.
or beginner's self, and I jump in. I just do it and see and just find out.
Mm-hmm.
That was the way. And then and it took time, and I just realized there was a lot of stuff that I was carrying in myself. And also, you do certain exercises that release that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I think that when people come in the reset, there's a lot of things that they're aware of, like tensions and blocks and fears that they want to move through. But there's also a lot of
Yeah.
things that have been planted inside of you during your conditioning, during your education, not just acting education, but just cultural. Oh, you
Yeah.
have to fit, you have to think like others, you have to feel like others, you have to behave
That's
like
it.
others, you have to move like others. And so, therefore, you have blinders about, you know, what's normal, what's not normal, what's good, what's bad, what's human, what's right, what's wrong. And
Mm,
in the reset, we do so much work to work through all of that conditioning so we can get back to you. But working
mm,
through that conditioning means that you will get skeptical, and you will have things that are like, red flags coming up going, whoa, that's not normal, that's wrong. And it's just your conditioning
yeah.
that so I'm very
Yeah.
glad that you trusted and went with it and just explored and experimented for yourself to see what was to be discovered. And so what did you discover out of surrendering to the process and allowing yourself to just go with it?
Just a huge amount of space and freedom in
Mm.
myself. That was the first thing. It was like, whoa, there's a lot less stuff I'm carrying or something. And it wasn't like me having to think about my problems or sort anything out, like I've got, whatever, fix
Yeah,
something.
no.
It was just stuff it was just, there was feelings of space,
Hmm.
which is fantastic
Hmm.
for actors, for anyone, for like people in life,
Yeah,
but especially for actors.
yeah. To just
Um,
feel light and
yeah,
space.
and being present, I think.
Yeah. I think that
Yeah,
sensation that you're describing, that sometimes is really difficult to explain, the weight
yeah,
that people carry around is really all the stuff that's been shoved down your throat during your education, during your cultural upbringing. It's like the do this and don't do that, and you have to be this kind of
yeah,
person, and good girls do this and bad girls do that, and that's wrong and that's right and that's bad and that's good, and you need to be
yeah,
liked by that. So there's so much to carry, like the obligation for the outside world, it's so big. Like literally, you have stuff inside of your system that doesn't belong to you. And it's
yeah,
heavy to drag that around. And yes, it's difficult to show up with that heaviness and to be present because you're behind all of that stuff. Your truth is underneath it, right? And so the space that you're now feeling, the lightness, is that you've moved through those things. You've been
mm,
exploring enough to recognize, like, this is not mine, this energy has nothing to do with me, and I'm right here. And therefore you feel your being, you feel the space. It's not, there's no more junk inside of you.
yeah. I mean, very much the without going into too much detail, but just the certain exercises that just was just releasing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And also just another thing, I was very attached to, even though I knew to trust myself in some ways with like acting the characters, and
Mm-hmm.
that it was I had my own point of reference for myself. I was still I am still, and I'm still kind of moving through it, but very much like outwardly focused, because we're all conditioned to be.
Yeah.
So
Ego.
that was another thing. Like everything was the external,
Yeah.
even not maybe not necessarily whilst I'm acting, but then afterwards, like, was that good? You
Yeah.
know, that attachment to
Yeah.
the result
Yeah, the
is very
ego,
there.
the ego is what is being trained during our conditioning and our traditional education, and therefore the ego is what is busy, you know, what is busy when you're acting, and you don't want to be in your ego because there's something so much more interesting. It's your truth and your freedom. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, acting without your ego is so yummy and definitely liberating.
Mm.
Every single time you'll catch yourself, you know, performing or doing a tape or whatever, and then really being anxious or obsessed about what do they think? Do they like me? Is that good enough? Is that what they want? Is that better than what the others did? You're out. It means you were not really there. Because if you're really there, you won't give two fucks, like people say, about what other people think, because you know that you have delivered everything your soul had in that moment. There's nothing else that you could
Mm.
possibly do. If you're really
Yeah.
present, then who likes it, who doesn't. But what happens is that if you're really present, people see you, right? And then that's when
Mm.
bookings happen, or even more than bookings, when they see you for a role and they're like, though you don't fit the role, but we'll give you another one because we saw you. And that's really rare nowadays.
Yeah. I think that's another point. I think there's a slight hiding me as well,
Hmm.
because you feel like they have to be, you have to look a certain way if you're playing a character, or,
Yeah.
you know, not just looking a certain way, but, you know, you're fitting the bill or
Yeah.
something. But actually, I think there was a little bit of me hiding me. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Totally. And there's no way that you could have known that, because again, you're
No.
raised in a culture where you are asked, rewarded, and punished if you don't take on other people's things, right? So this is a whole armor,
Mm.
identity, ego that is built, and made to be perfect. You're training your ego, right? And so what we do in the
Mm.
reset is to really make sure that you undo all of that, so that you can show up 100% without any of
Mm.
that um, learned behavior. You just want the instinct, the moment, the
Mm.
aliveness that flows through your veins only, that only you could have, that no one else could have. That's what's fulfilling for you. That is what can carry
Mm.
a story forward, and that's definitely what can impact an audience, right? Like anything else than your truth would be less interesting than your truth, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels bigger. Like there's more I think there's more purpose
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
which is more. It just feels better. It
It's
feels
just
more fulfilling.
juicier. Yeah, it's just juicy.
Yeah, juicier.
It's a bigger scope than saving
Mm.
your ass, and but it's survival. If you're in ego, you're in survival, and in survival you're just like,
Mm.
it's, yeah, it's very egocentric. You're just trying to catch a little piece of cheese.
Yeah,
And when you've worked through that, oof, you know, your wings can open. It's about something else. It's not about you
yeah,
anymore. It's about what you have to give. So it's very different energy. Yeah. Thank you
yeah.
so much for sharing yourself, Sarah. I'm sure people
No fun.
can and will relate to your um, to your experience. Yeah, yeah. Is there
Yeah, no, it's
any
good. Yeah.
yeah? Is there anything
Sorry,
else
go.
you want to share before we close?
No, I think that's everything.
Hmm.
I may think of something once we finish, but no,
Yeah, of course you
I
will.
think I've said everything that
Yeah,
said.
great.
Um, Other than that, I've just really enjoyed the experience. It's been fantastic,
Yeah,
and I'm keeping going. Really,
yeah, great.
yeah.
Well, keep on going for sure. Thank you so much for sharing yourself so late in London, and enjoy your night.
Thank you. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Recording